All right, let's talk a little bit about the history of mutants in Magic. I got this request because of Huntwood Streaker, which is a beast mutant, implying that we're probably going to have some mutants in Duskmourn, and people were curious. So the first mutants in Magic come from the Odyssey and Onslaught block storyline, where this magical device, the Mirari, is malfunctioning and it's causing people to warp. Part of the reason for this is because they were doing a typal set, and so they wanted to get rid of like the creature type and just have it be like wizard mutant and stuff like that. This carried through all the colors. This is where you get these kind of hulking green elves from on Dominaria. And also those sort of gooey wizards who are like, they're losing cohesion almost. Here's another example of one of the elves. And this is all the result of Magic warping them. It's not super clear if these mutants still exist in modern Dominaria or if they'd even be considered mutants now. But the cause of all of this was the Mirari's magic fundamentally changing these people. The next time we saw the mutant type, it was on Ravnica, specifically the Simic Guild. Now, they're the ones that play around with DNA. They are biomages, and so the mutant signifies that someone has been changed on a fundamental level. And it also shows on their creatures. And when we came back to Ravnica, they further defined this by like the Krasis, the Crassus, however you want to call it. All the creatures they created that they mutated or are combinations, chimeras, that kind of thing, they're all mutants. One sort of interesting offhand case is the Incurable Ogres from Alara. They were cursed with this sort of like awful tentacly nonsense, and so they are mutants because of this curse that they've never been able to find a cure for, hence Incurable Ogre. In the original Innistrad, we had our Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde card, and the Mr. Hyde side, Homicidal Brute, was a mutant because he is a result of fundamentally changed DNA. Now, part of the reason for the mutant type, rather than, say, our The Fly comparison, where he just becomes a human insect, is because it's not always clear. Fusions will usually have like the two different types in there. Mutant is thrown in when it's like fundamentally changed, but there isn't another type to put. And of course, a lot of our Universes Beyond properties include them, like the Aberrant, the Tyranids. I don't know a ton about 40k lore, but my understanding is these are people that were fundamentally changed by the Tyranids in order to be like sleeper agents on planets. The Indominus Rex was a chimera dinosaur created from a lot of different DNA strands. True, technically all of the Jurassic Park dinosaurs are chimeras. They're not real dinosaurs per se, but the Indominus Rex was the first one we've seen that was very specifically engineered to be different than its base, rather than they just had to fill in gaps. And similarly, Fallout has people fundamentally changed by either radiation or by the forced evolutionary virus, which fundamentally alters them on a genetic level. So that brings us back to Huntwood Streaker. Why is this a beast mutant? Well, one, I think mutants play really well in the horror space. Mutants are a big trope in a lot of different kinds of horror. Now, we haven't seen more mutants specifically for Duskmourn yet, but I imagine they're all just sort of like regular woodland creatures, but wrong and scary. You know, there's a trope in horror where you see a creature like this and maybe its mouth is closed, maybe you can't see its red eyes, and you're like, oh, it's cute. And then it turns and looks at you, and it is like, oh, shit. Not as cute as you thought. That's probably what these mutants are going for. I imagine we'll probably see like human mutants as well, alongside like the Razorkin and stuff like that. I'm going to keep tackling asks that are closely related to Duskmourn until preview season is over, and I've covered all the cards I wanted to cover from the set, so keep the questions coming. I will get to them eventually.